was a sort of not a statue, a memorial to the people they'd lost in the Great Wars. And I was thinking, well, the suicide rate would actually, you need a whole new monument, and there's nothing. And so it was really profound. I was, as a city dweller, I was stunned. And it's been the same in the other towns.
And then Yarrawonga was the same. They, like you said, people just talked afterwards. Really wanted to talk.
And that's what the play does afterwards. I remember when we were in the MTC, they said, okay, as soon as the play finishes, you've got to get the audience out. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. They hang around for ages, sometimes hours. They said, no one ever hangs around after a play. They just leave. And I said, they're going to hang around. And they were stunned because people wouldn't leave. And what they come up, they hug us and they want to talk. They go, mate, I've lost 3 mates and we've got to do something. And what I'm telling to mental health professionals, anyone, come along, be a part of the conversation afterwards, because there's positive energy here. People want to talk about it. We've opened them up. They're ready to talk. They're ready to do something. Who knows what could happen? One person could have a great idea that could save lives. And it's there. You know, you've got all these people talking about it and they wait to talk. They're lining up. So that's what we think the gift of the play is the conversation. It starts afterwards.
Yeah. And we know.
There you go.
Sorry, I was going to say that we know that mental health organizations can come and be there, you know, afterwards. That's all.
Yeah, that's something I know. The first time that I actually heard anybody got any feedback from somebody who had gone to see the play was actually Natalie, who I spoke to just after she'd seen it, the one you were talking about, and she mentioned to me that she'd gone twice, and I was really impressed by the sort of the way that she was talking about it. And I've talked to a lot of people since, and it's always the same. As I said, I'm yet to see the play, mainly because of COVID-19, but hopefully in the very near future I'll be able to. But absolutely everybody who I've talked to who's seen it has been very, very impressed.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're not in Sydney on the 4th or the 5th, are you, March?
Not at this stage, but who knows? We've got we can travel, I think, freely between Queensland and New South Wales at the moment. It seems to be on again, off again. But
yeah,
we're heading there.
We have a few people coming down from Gladstone who are flying down to see it. Who've known about it like you, they haven't seen it because Rio was going to bring us to Gladstone, but their entire board got sacked, so I'll quit. So that fallen through. So so I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of people I've been conversing with now for years who still haven't met in person. You know.
Yep.
Well, apart from you, I've met you, but it's really interesting.
That's right. We were just saying before we went on. That's right, Michael. I got an opportunity to meet you back at the March for Men in 2018.
That's correct.
To help me out with time there, had you done the first performance at that point, or was it after that performance happened that you mentioned?
Oh,
we done it, because we did it at the end of 2017.
Right.
Yeah.
He took his life in 2016.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I think maybe 2 lots, because second lot was in 2018.
Right. Okay. Great. So there've been a few, and then fabulous. Yes.
I got interviewed on the John Fane conversation hour, and I actually was on before me. They had someone that was about abusive men. And I thought, oh God. And so I had to come after her, you know, but she was really interesting, actually. She was really pro-men. Yeah, she was really pro-men because she was talking about how shame is a big killer of men. So they got me on, and I just wanted my usual honest self, and the phone board went crazy. We had people going, I pulled over in my car and waited. It was really emotional. And that's how we got the army. There's someone from the army heard. They got us to perform in the army.
She just heard the interview, and she said,
that's fabulous.
Yeah, country towns. But people actually said they just pulled over on the side of the road. They were just sitting there listening. So it was really, really, hey, Charlie, it was really, really profoundly moving. And that's what it feels like when you're with the play. You feel like it's something profound, and we're the deliverers of the message. But there's more to be gained by having people there to harvest what we're doing, you know, harvest what we're opening up in people. You know?
Absolutely, yes. And I understand you performed it a couple of times for the army that you mentioned. Is that right?
Yeah.
So the first 2 times were at the Victorian Barracks, and then we did some shows here in the Palace Hotel, and one came down from Canberra, which was the psychologist was one of them, to check it out. And then they invited us up to Canberra. That was the last.
So we performed for the chain of command.
That was Chief of Army in the chain of command on the 3rd of the 3rd, 2020, and we're going to Sydney on the 3rd of the 3rd, 21.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's right. So and the chief of the top psychologist came down from the army, and that was really interesting. We really wanted to know what he thought, and he actually had a coffee with me the next day, and he said he thought it was a revolution in suicide prevention simply because it holds your interest, it's engaging, it tackles these issues, and yet it doesn't make you feel maudlin. You know, you actually leave feeling uplifted and wanting to live. So that's why the army, I think, is really testing us as they're taking us other barracks to see. So it's really quite an honor to do it. I mean, going on to the Victoria, the funniest thing is, I hope no one's listening, is I've never been in the army, but you're meeting all these generals and your hand wants to salute. And it must be my DNA from a past life. And I'm going, don't you do anything because you don't know what you're doing. You're going to be like Benny Hill and but you can actually feel it going, what are you doing? Stop. You know, so that's really
probably the uniforms, yes.
You do it. There's something maybe, who knows, in past lives we've been, who knows.
Never know, exactly.
But they're wonderful people. They're just people. And it's just, so having the theatre and the army together, to me, was like a meeting of tribes, all trying to achieve the one thing, which is save lives.
When we did the chief of army, the only decision they had to make was whether to make it mandatory or voluntary.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I don't have any personal experience with the military, but I believe that, again, there's quite a problem with suicide. That's my understanding within military ranks. So I can understand why they were really interested in seeing it.
I think it's more with veterans.
Right.
Yes.
Fair point. Yes, the returning veterans. Yeah. And now this is no, go ahead, Michael.
In Sydney, we tried to find a venue, but the Paddington RSL is giving us a great deal, so they're supporting us too to get us into the Paddington RSL, and the RTBU union is supporting us because those guys drive the trains and they deal with it at the coalface, so they're supporting us too. So there's this lovely support coming through, which is terrific.
No, that's great. Now you've performed the play around Australia. Now it sounds mostly New South Wales and Victoria. Would that be fair to say at this point? I know you've been yep. And of course, 2020 made things difficult too. Who knows? Maybe we'll see you up our way one day in Queensland too.
Yeah, we meant to come to Queensland. We had a lot of interest in getting us up there. We're trying to sort a tour. Before COVID, we had trouble keeping up with it, with people wanting to book us in from everywhere, but just COVID shut it all down. The next place we're going to is Launceston. And so Launceston,
we want to get another booking in Melbourne when we get back from
or in Kingston,
Sydney, and then we're in Kingston on the 1st of May. But we'd like to have another one in between if we can, just to keep it moving.
Where's Kingston?
Yes.
Moorabbin.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And well, so Aral, do you have a website up at the moment? Because it sounds like there are a lot of performances going ahead. Do you have a website up that's listing the various performances?
Theatre company. I'll send you the link.
Yeah,
so
you can look at on Facebook as well.
The Wolves company,
Yeah, please do send them through. In fact, I think you may have sent that to me before. Please do send it through, and we'll put it up on the video so that everybody can see that.
Yeah.
I've also put some information. I've already got some information up there about the play on Wiki, what it was on our wiki called Wiki for Men. But I'll put some additional information up on the performance dates as well.
Yeah, great. Because we've got to try booking for the what is it? The Sydney shows. So we're doing the Army's getting us for the Randwick Barracks, so we're performing there, and then the next after that we're in. Is
Paddington.
So we're in Paddington. We're doing 2 public shows. It's just sort of introduce ourselves to Sydney.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. Now, we've talked about Australia so far, but I believe there may be some plans overseas as well. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a conference of psychoanalysts or something like that in the UK, a national conference. They've got a copy. They love it, and they're organising a reading with actors from the National Theatre or something like that for for the end of the show. I mean, we'd love to go there ourselves, but we can't get there. So that's going to be very interesting, I think, for the UK, because the play is very, as Natalie's seen, the play is very simple to put on. It's just a couple of benches and the actors, lighting simple, everything simple. You can put this on outside, in a hall, at a conference, in a theatre. We've seen it in a big theatre in Sale, which was a massive theatre. It holds its own. It's very robust, and it's been written that way for a play to put on. So I thought some of the country towns, like I know in Esperance in Perth, they had a spate of about 6 in a couple of weeks. And so to me, the play is for that. You can take it there. It's easy to take it there. It's in your town hall. Put it on and see if it does good. You know?
Yeah, I was really impressed at when I learned how easily and cheaply it could be put on. That's really great. I think that's a great sort of design goal, if I could call it that, for the play.
We don't take it set with us. We actually, because it's set in the waiting room in the afterlife, so we set the waiting room up with the chairs from whatever chairs we can find in the hall or theatre, or we go down an opera, we find something, or...
We also think it would be good for the corporate world somehow. You know, we could get it into businesses that perhaps have a problem. And
Colac, they use church pews, so they found some old church pews. So it's really interesting, because wherever the play is, it looks different, because you wherever the things, but it's always just the same. There's one light at the front, which is it's God or the gods, but they never speak really till the end, and the rest is just these 4 people. What do they do? You know. Should I say something about what it is for those who don't know?
Yes, I'll leave it entirely up to you, to the extent that you want to disclose plot lines and that sort of thing. So we'll leave that to you.
So what it is I thought it'd be interesting to explore suicide from the other side, like that guy that jumped from the Westgate Bridge, and as he's falling, he thought, I've changed my mind. And I think that's a really interesting moment. And so I set these characters in a waiting room in the afterlife. They've all attempted suicide, but apparently they've failed. They've got this big sort of sense that they've been registered as failures, and they're stuck in this room, and it's told in a series of vignettes. So they're really bored. They're just like they've been there for maybe weeks. And because they're bored, they're not that emotional. And because they're not that emotional, the audience relaxes and they all go on the journey together. They're not happy, but they're just bored. And they're strangers. They don't really want to have much to do with each other. But finally, one of them realizes that he really wants to go home. And the only way to go home, there must be something to do in the room. And the only thing in the room is each other. So he decides that, well, we must have to save each other. And the others are like not wanting any interest in that. And that's how the play begins. So it's a very, very simple premise. But it just, for some reason, it just really works. And
lots of humor in it. It doesn't to keep it up, I suppose. It's very uplifting, isn't it?
But it's not black humor.
Not a heavy.
It's more just natural.
Just
natural conversation humor. It's
that's right. So it's not black humor. We don't make fun of suicide at all. It's just So. And that's it. I don't want to really tell you the end, but and it's like a roller coaster. 1 minute you're laughing, the next minute it's really a poignant scene. Next minute you could be quite devastated, and then you're back to sort of, just sort of relaxing again. It's really interesting.
Wonderful. I really am looking forward to seeing it. I'm going to think about my opportunities to get down there to Sydney in March. At the very least, I'm going to make sure a few people we know in Sydney know that it's being held down there. I think it's the 4th of March. Is that right?
Yeah,
4th and 5th.
4th and 5th. Okay, great. Yeah.
How do RSL?
Yeah, we'll send you a try booking link for it. Yeah, but that would be really great, because the more people hear, the word spreads. At the moment, Sydney's going, what's this? They haven't heard about us. And so the more people we can get there, the word spreads, and then it goes from there.
Yeah, no worries. And we'll definitely post it on our Facebook groups and so forth too. In fact, always feel free to keep us in the loop on those sort of things. We'll circulate information as much as we can.
Right.
Yeah. Really looking forward to it, actually. That'll be great.
Yeah. The other thing too with it, it's what was interesting when we had just 4 men, I was constantly getting told, you can't just do a show about men. You have to include women, which eventually we did for other reasons. But there are a lot of men issues brought up in the play from a lot of men. I'm 54, 55 almost. And there's a lot of men my age, especially in the lockdown, who lost their jobs, who really feel like there's nothing for them. Anything they go for. I mean, as a joke, recently I went for a camel milking job. And they actually asked me, why do you think you'd be suited to this job? I'm going, how the hell did you know you could milk a camel until you milk the camel? But you just can't get anything. Fruit picking, the guy, you're too old. And it's just really interesting. And yet there's still a huge period of time until you retire. And so, and maybe the same for women as well. But I know I've got a lot of mates who are really looking at this going, oh, so what do we do?
Yeah,
and
it is true. A lot of men do really hang their self-worth on their job, and where they don't have that job, exactly, that can really hit them hard. Yeah, there's always a debate about to what extent that is innate, to what extent that is taught to men. I don't know. I think I suspect it's at least partly innate, to be honest. I think men do sort of do tend to be quite task focused in general. And they
meet someone. If someone meets you, they ask what you do.
Yeah,
they don't ask what you think. What is your outlook? What do you do?
Yeah. We should be asking people what their hobbies are to start with, you know.
Yeah, but it's just our nature. Another thing someone told me recently, which is a study came out, I think it was in the United Kingdom, where they talked to a lot of men trying to figure out why the suicide rate was as it was. And what they found out was a lot of men were going to doctors, their GPs, and saying, look, I'm feeling suicidal, I need help. Then they would be sent to help, and then they were taking their own lives. And what they were finding was when they went to the help, they didn't really, it took them a lot to ask for help. And then when they were sort of moved on, it didn't feel like it was really, like it was too much to ask. And then they go to another one, and when the other one couldn't really help them that much, they just sort of stop it. Now, they don't know if that's it, but it's just something somebody told me. And I thought that's really interesting, because what I'm finding, and I'm a novice to this apart from the play, if an airplane falls out of the sky, we research it like those shows to find out, okay, what happened? What bolt? What this? And yet, basically, I think the suicide rate is about 6 aircraft falling out of the sky a year. And I just wonder, do we investigate each one to the degree to go, what's happening? Why did this person take his life? Is there anything we can do to not fix him, but that we can bring in place to stop others, you know? So
about 10 years ago, it might have been a little bit more now, about 12 years ago, Queensland actually started a landmark study on suicide. It's really, as far as I know, it's a world first. They actually looked at what caused, as in what was actually driving individuals to suicide. And they found that for men, the study was completed after 10 years, I think released about 2 years ago. They found for men that in particular, relationship breakups were a significant driver of it, among not across the board, but among certain groups. And now they didn't dig further than that, unfortunately. I hope they do in the future. But my suspicion is that it's actually something that's coming from those relationship breakups, and that's parental alienation. I think that's probably a major driver of it, where you've got a lot of men, unfortunately, who are losing touch with their children. And like you say, with the work as well, they're thinking they're at that point they're reaching despair. So, but as I said, the study did say that they found that relationship breakups were a major driver. Now, Victoria, spurned on by Queensland having done this, Victoria, I believe, has now got one of these studies going. So hopefully people overseas will pick it up too, and hopefully in the future we'll get more and more information on what's actually digging down individual cases and seeing what's going on. So it is helping. There is work out there which is allowing us to get a better idea, but I think we still have a long way to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's incredible. And then you're talking to these people. I was talking to someone from I can't remember which, because I've been talking to so many groups, and they're struggling to how they can't find anything to work, especially for men. You know, and so I find it And to me, that's what I'm saying. I don't think Marooned's a cure, but if you've got this battle, you need new tools in the battle all the time. And I think Marooned is a new tool in the fight, and it can help. You know,
that's exactly how I look at these things. It's a tool. It's a tool in the fight. Exactly.
We've got a new tool. Maybe this could help for a while, and then get another one. So that's how I see it. It's simple as that.
Absolutely agree. So there's a program that was running. I have to check to see if it's still running. I hope that it is. But it actually came up when I was in Gladstone at that screening of the Red Pill that I mentioned, and it's actually called "Are You Bogged, Mate?" And it started by a lady. Yeah, it started by a lady who travels around in her day job. She meets a lot of farmers. And now I believe her name is Mary McDonald, but I have to check. Hopefully, I just got her name correct. I've had an opportunity to meet her, but it was a few years ago. Anyway, she was traveling around, and she, as well as her day job, dealing with sort of people in terms of the farming gear that she was talking about. She also realised that there was this serious problem among rural communities, and so she started this program called "Are You Bogged, Mate?" But one of the things that they did, which I thought was quite innovative, was that they said that in particular men weren't necessarily inclined to pick up the phone and talk to anybody, but they found that they were willing to text. So they actually were texting men. Yeah. And so they had these men I guess it was that a little bit more removed perhaps. Yeah. And the men were more comfortable on the phone, and talking to people. So there's programs out there. I think we're moving in the right direction to a certain extent, but we still have a long way.
Yeah, I've met loads of people that are really fighting. It's really amazing the energy they're putting into it, and some driven by friends they've lost. Other people are just driven. There's a huge lot going on to try to stop it. You know, it's a lovely thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So Natalie's been quite quiet in the corner. Poor Natalie isn't very well tonight. So she messaged me before and said, "Take the lead, please, Rob." I said, "No problem." So well done, Natalie, hanging in with us.
Hey, I pinched a nerve in my back and went to the hospital last night, and they've given me the good drugs. So I'm just sitting here seeing little fairies flying around. But I do want to say, even if the subject matter of Marooned is, of course, suicide, but it's sort of like that's the elephant in the room, and it's, even though they do talk about it, they talk about the characters talk about their lives as well, so it's not ignored. But I do remember seeing it, and I remember Greg's name and I remember Christopher's name. I'm so sorry, I forget the young fellow's name.
It was he's changed now to Daniel. We had another actor,
Yeah, so I saw when you had the other actor, and there was, and I could like literally see myself in you, Rohana. I saw people I work with in Greg. I saw my male mates in Christopher's role, but I saw my son in Daniel's role. And there was something amazing that he did that I was watching whilst all the action's going on over here. I was watching Daniel's character, and he was doing the same things my son does. So even though this is where you're focusing on one or two characters, the other characters are still performing. They're not just sitting back listening to the main characters. They are still performing, even if it's just with a hand gesture.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought was really magical, was that's how you see people in these characters, is even when they're not doing anything, they're actually doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an ensemble piece. So everybody's on stage all the time, and everybody has about the same amount of lines. So it doesn't really have a star. It's basically it's the four of them, which is unusual too. Usually you have one protagonist, an antagonist, and then backup. But in this one, it is an ensemble, and we get to know everybody, but we never know their names, only their statistics. So they've got numbers instead of names. And the main guy, or Greg's character, is 1620, and that used to be my PIN number. which was, I thought that was funny. I don't know if anyone's ever made a play of the character as their PIN number. And of course, I've changed it. Not that there's anyone that if did maybe get into it and put money there. But yeah, so that's been an interesting thing. But that was to try humanize the statistics, because we hear statistics all the time. So I thought, okay, well, we never know their names. There's the number. We only know them by a number, but you get to know them anyway. And that's the thing behind it. You know, there's people behind these statistics, you know.
Oh, fabulous. As I said before.
I kind of like the fact they had a number.
What was that? Sorry, Natalie?
I kind of like the fact that they had a number rather than a name.
Yeah.
Because you got to know them. It's like sometimes names come with an automatic personality.
Yeah.
Or an automatic job title or something, where with just the names, you could tell what they sort of did by the clothes they were wearing, which sort of, the clothes describe the character and not this pretense of a name. So you got to know them more rather than that person's Michael, that person's Rob, you got to know who they were. And it was, as I said, these people were real. These people are real people. These people you know.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're going through depression or whether they're going through suicide, that's just the elephant in the room. These people, the way they're talking, their mannerisms, everything, real people. There's no pretense about it. And that's the magical of it, where you just do need 4 chairs in a room, is, you've torn away all the prettiness and just put these 4 people in a room. And I think that is how it is special. There's no, as I said, there's no pretense. There's no making it look pretty. There's no rose-colored glasses. This is what it is.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, we turn in a series of vignettes, so it's like we go black out and then we come back up or grey out. But apart from that, there's no dramatic light changes. There's no great sound effects. There's nothing. It's just the actors.
Because you just get absorbed, hopefully, into the
Yeah, but that's an interesting thing too. People aren't really used to that. You know what I mean? It's just,
especially these days.
Yeah. Usually the special effects and the screens at the back, and not that I mind any of that, but in this particular thing, you just don't need it. And I remember when we were doing one of the camera show for the Army, what I loved about it is they had the tiny little stage and it had a podium there, you couldn't be removed, and the lights wouldn't change. And I thought, this is not going to work. We can't do anything. I mean, I know we don't have anything, but now we have nothing. And then we had we didn't have enough room for 2 rows of chairs, so there was only 1 row of chairs. So I was upstairs doing the lights thinking, oh, this is not going to work. And yet the actors blew them away. And they just blew them away. And I thought, well, these guys can do it anywhere. We could even be outside. If we were up in the tropics, we could do it outside. The thing holds up. Once it gets going, I remember when I was young, I remember some male actors came to our school. I must have been about grade 7. And they did a play set on a beach, and all they used was one of our chairs. And they made the rest up. And I remember I was enthralled by that because I could see everything that they were doing, but I was painting it myself. So that sort of happens in this. So I've always been really interested in theatre that's just stripped down to the only thing that it requires. So so that's I find that really cool.
So sounds like you've done the performances in a variety of different locations. Has any thought been ever given to trying it at a university? I just got sitting. Oh yeah.
We've actually had a university up in Queensland that was very interested.
Oh right.
Queensland University.
Oh, that's my alma mater. Yeah.
There was someone that was very, very wanting to help get it there, but he couldn't get it past.
He couldn't get it past the board because they had a terrible thing. But we've had a lot. That was when it was starting. Now we've got so much more done with the Army. Maybe they changed their mind because he said they had real issue with it, and And we've had uni students come; they love it because one of the guys, especially the big guy 379, is very politically incorrect. He says it like he sees it, and the university people love it. They just love it, and they just find that it's not smothered in trying to tick boxes and all this. It's just this. They really find it refreshing.
I think that's another thing which we really should look to universities. I think.
So my alma mater is University of Queensland, and oddly enough, I was just sitting here thinking where you were talking about how we could look at something at the Box Theatre at University of Queensland, and now I learned you actually tried to do it. So yeah, I may talk. What I'll do is after we finish tonight, I may see if I can get the contact details for that person off you, and maybe approach them and see what we can do about UQ.
Is there another university up there? Because I'm just trying to.
There's several. There's 3 in Brisbane. But
it was connected to it. They were all over Australia. University.
Yeah, that was. Oh, excuse me. That was one.
Sorry, I have to. Got up at 5 o'clock. I'm sorry for the yawning.
I'd have to find out. It's yeah.
But if you can dig up the details,
anyway, really, we're willing to take it anywhere at all.
But that's the thing. It's younger people. Not that universities are only younger people, but it's all ages. Obviously, it hits. So, I mean, it appeals to ages. Yeah. Sort of around 16 up. Probably wouldn't 17.
Yeah.
In our last show in Colac, because the actors have been getting better and better and really bringing it together. So we had 2 shows at the Red Rock Theatre in Crook is the town, and we got our first full standing ovation. There was full house, and they just at the end they just all rose to their feet. And I remember the actors looking like stunned, and I thought, well, you've earned that, guys. You've worked the hard yards. And so when I was first meeting the Colac audience, they were like very guarded, thinking, oh, what's this going to be? Afterwards, they were taking the posters off the wall, and they wanted people to sign it, but they wanted to talk to us and go, look, I've lost someone this, and they were going, you take this everywhere, and they flooded Facebook with all their little reviews and stuff like that. And then the next day we did the show again, and I thought, well, that's not going to happen again. And we had a full house, and again, they all stood up, and that's what I've been like. It's quite a profound thing with this, quite humbling, you know.
That line. Got to take this everywhere is the line of the play. After people just say that.
Yeah, always. And everyone, men and women, especially men with me. I don't know about with Rohana. They go, mate, you got to. How do you get this to nil? How do you get it here? You got to take it everywhere. And so that's sort of what kept us going. Is people want it. It's a real people play. They love it, and so we just keep it going based on that. It's we've got a lot of other plays. We got Bruce Beresford wants to come and direct one of my plays in Sale, which has just stunned us. I met him. We met him the other day. I actually touched his arm and went, "You're Bruce Beresford." I couldn't believe it.
We had a meeting.
So we had a great meeting. And then we have this other play that I wrote for an Iraqi refugee, which deals with. I won't get deep into these, but they wanted something about an honor killing, and so I came up with an idea for one. And I thought, well, there's no way this is ever going to get up, because written by a white, mature Aussie working class male about Arabic culture. And lo and behold, that we've had 2 global readings now with Arabic actors all over the world, and they're all going nuts.
Nice.
And that was 5 o'clock this morning. So at the morning, there's lots and lots of stuffing with other plays, but Maroone's very special to us. But we do it because, like we said, we get called to do it. You know, the army wants to.
It will always continue anyway. I can't see it. It's going to keep going.
No, we don't want to sort of shove it on people who don't want it, if you know what I mean. You know, it's actually invited places, and so we follow it. You know,
and it sounds like with the world opening up again, or at least Australia opening up, that it sounds like you'll be able to have lots of new opportunities in the coming months.
We need to take it to New Zealand. You know.
Yeah.
Or even do a new. Can you imagine 379 as a big Maori? That'd be amazing. That would be amazing, especially with those tattoo facials. He'd be, because he comes across. See, the beauty about 379. I mean, all the characters, but the beauty I love about 379, he's like an alpha male, and he's sort of the males that have been sort of, society at the moment doesn't sort of want to know them. You know what I mean? He actually says in the line, he goes, "Oh, my comedy predates political correctness," and but the audience adore him, and he comes across as gruff. But the more you get to know him in the play, you realize how big his heart is, and he's not what you think he is. And then at the end, you find out what he does for a living, and it breaks the cliches of what you think. But there are some things he says that has the audience go, but he's just how he is, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, he has this great line where he tells the other guy, "What's this about?"
Well, they have to come and see it.
Yeah, yeah.
There
you go.
One great line.
That's why I'm keeping quiet. I'm not giving anything away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he has some cracker lines, and but he really resonates with people. And what was interesting, when we were trying to cast him, we needed this big guy. We wanted a big guy who was proud of his size, and we had trouble finding one. Even if the big guy turned up, they were sort of hunched. And so that's only the actors we met. I'm not saying everyone was like that, but this was the few actors. And then we were going to recast it like a sexy beast. We're going to try to find a little Ben Kingsley. And then Chris Grant turned up, and he's big, and he strides in, and he comes in. He was 379, except he's a nice guy in the 379. And then we handed him the script and said, I was going, "Please be able to act." I handed him the script, and he goes, "I can't read this. I'm dyslexic." He's profoundly dyslexic. So he went away, and he read it out.
Give us a couple of days or something.
He read it out slowly to himself, every line but his, on his phone. And then he went walking, listening to the other characters, and then he'd say his line. About 3 or 4 days later, he came back. He knew every line in the play. Every other person's line and his.
Wow.
And he's been with the play from the get-go. And like the Sergeant Major, me and him and I butt heads a bit, but it's always to try and get the best performance. But he's incredible to be around, and night after night after night after night, the audiences just adore him. And so he didn't start acting until he was about 50, which shows with all people as you get aged, you don't know what can be ahead of you if you try to take a risk and do something else. You know?
That's right. Absolutely.
We're team now as well, and that's the nice thing of continually doing it, is not only we're improving the piece, but because we're very close when we're performing, I think it makes it even more real. Getting more and more real.
Yeah, they are. They're definitely like the monkeys. That's what they're like. They just sit there going away, and they're getting on, they're having fun, and then they go and do this really powerful play.
I go into
and then you go in the change room, and they're all hugging each other, and they go, "Let's go out and meet the crowd." They astound me. You know what I mean?
As part of the crowd, it was because at the time, Michael and I had a friend in common, Charlie, as well as James. And James introduced me to Michael. But Charlie's somebody I work with, so I was quite stunned that Charlie's over here and James is over here, got nothing to do with each other, and I've got Michael in the middle. But I didn't know at the time until after the show we went out for drinks. On the first time we went and had coffee, that Rohana and Michael were a couple. And Greg still spoke like Greg and still dressed like Greg, and Chris came out a little bit more dressed up, but was still Chris, and I didn't get to speak to the younger character. But Rohana was like chalk and cheese. It was like, how the hell you did her the way you did her, and then came out and you were this cool hippie chick with this funky fluffy coat on, and I'm like, oh, I like her.
Because she was very, the other character.
Yeah, I don't want to go into description of her. I want to go, but it was just chalk and cheese. And then we went out and we had a coffee, and it was all well and good, and I was able to relax more. And then the following week we went to the bar behind the arts centre.
Yeah.
And
you brought your friend.
It was all of us there, and I was talking to Chris and I was talking to Greg, and all I could think about is, oh my God, I just saw you guys in a play. How could I be sitting here? Like, I'm a fan. I'm like, I want your autograph and I want to pin up on my wall like I was 16. But this is how much these characters sucked you in, and then to meet the real people, and it was so special. And the fact that they do that, because you do come out changed, I believe, and I came out changed on both times. And the fact that they come out and they meet and greet you and they have a conversation with you, it was like, who the hell are you people? Like, shouldn't you be going off drinking champagne and ignoring us peasants? But they don't. They come out and they meet you and they talk to you, and it made the play even more special because we did talk about it, but you talked about it to the people who put it on. You just didn't talk about it together.
Yeah. Well, like the Palace Hotel was a perfect thing. People came to see us there, and we just came downstairs and mingled with the people who come.
The audience are our bread and butter. So I always meet and greet. I usually have a tuxedo, and the program is a big Q code, like about this big on my back. So when I was at the MTC, they hadn't seen anything like me. They go, "What's the playwright doing? Why is he out here? Why is he walking around in a? Why has he got a Q code on his back?" And there's all these people behind me going, and they're all scanning my back like one of these things to, and they're lined up, and I'm going, if you scan my ass, you get free tickets. And there's and they've got here and the meeting.
We're environmental.
But to me, we're unfunded. So with other plays, we're getting funding, but this play at that point was unfunded.
Yeah.
The customers are our bread and butter. And it's like selling anything. It's like if I'm a butcher, I talk to my people. I'm here to present. And like you said, you left the play moved. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So I meet you first, and then afterwards, we want you to come back and see other shows and stuff. So it's very important to me.
Really interesting to see that you have moved someone as well, and that you've actually moved them, made them laugh, whatever, even if they're angry afterwards, because that makes you feel I've done it. That's what it's about, I
remember opening night in Paran with a tiny little theatre, and I was doing the lights, and it was a really complicated board, and I was thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I just broke a pencil, and I had the pencil, I just went boom, 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 I just kept it simple. And when it was finished, no one moved. We had a full house, but no one was moving. I was thinking, do they think they've all applauded that, why aren't they moving? And it took me a while to sort of walk down and go, it's finished, And I swear to God, this guy looked up to me like this, and I thought to myself, why is your face covered in Vaseline? That's what I thought. And then I realized it was tears. And then he got up and said, "Who are you?" And I said, we're with the theatre company. And he goes, "Did you write that?" And then he just hugged me. And then other men were coming up. And this was mainly because it was all men then. And I was just having lines of men around me wanting to shake my hand, pat me on the back, buy me a drink, going, "How do we get this here, mate?" And it still gives me goosebumps. It was just profound, hugging me, coming up. It was incredible, and that's how it's been. So I get a lot of women doing it too, wanting to meet me who've lost partners and other things. But the men, like there was one guy in Sale, he came up and he said, "Mate, I've never seen a play in my life, but I'm coming to see everything you do because that was fucking brilliant." And I love that because I'm a working class. That's where I'm from. So to me, that's gold.
We have to go to Queensland because
and that's so I'm very much we're very much with the people. That's who it is. We're not precious. We're not precious.
And we're not. I won't say anything more because that would become a thing.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of Queensland, I'm a Queenslander, so let's see what we can do about getting up here.
Townsville. The sugar mountain, the sugar shaker. I was up there. My father was working on that. So go to school with no shoes on and stuff like this. I loved it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yes. So we're starting to close in on an hour. We usually try to make the show. We're sort of nominally aiming for about half an hour to about 45 minutes. We haven't quite succeeded, actually. We seem to keep going a bit over time, but that's okay.
Tonight was fresh.
So thank you very much for coming along tonight and talking to us about the play. What we'll do is we'll place some links in the description below, all the videos wherever they're placed on Facebook or YouTube, with some useful links concerning suicide.
Yeah,
thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Natalie.
Yeah.
It was lovely to talk to you.
Lovely seeing you again.
Thanks so much. What do? We just
and let us know.
So.
Let us know if you come, Robert. We'll go for a drink afterwards.
Yeah.
Come Friday. If you can make it Friday night, Bruce Bereford is coming.
Well, I'll stay in touch, and there's definitely some information I want to get. We can publish some information on various websites, as I mentioned, as well.
Great.
We'll talk to you offline. Thanks.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.